Okay. Hi, you guys. I don't think I give... Ow. Hi, you guys. I don't think I give a proper intro to this video, so I'm going to start doing it now. Today is going to be the last and final reading vlog for my Throne of Glass series, and we have finally made it to Kingdom of Ash. As you saw in the previous clip, I bought it yesterday in anticipation of finishing the tandem read, which I did finish today, and so we are here. And considering how Empire of Storms ended, and that this is coming, yes, after Tower of Dawn, because they're, you know, coinciding timelines, but really just following the plot after Empire of Storms, I cannot wait to see what happens. And I cannot wait to see how they get Aelin out, and I cannot wait to see how they reunite with all the characters from Tower of Dawn, and I can't wait to see the Lysandra Aedion dynamic and the Witches and Dorian dynamic, and seeing Elodie and Lorcan, and I can't wait to see Rowan get her back, but cannot believe how big this book is. This book is, I think, 980 pages, which is almost equivalent to both to the tandem read. I think that was slightly a little bit longer, but this is all one book, so I think this is going to be so insane. I think this is going to be the biggest book I've ever read in one book, so I'm really excited. I don't know what to expect. I'm gonna try and go into it with no expectations, because I simply cannot even fathom where the plot is going to go from here. But the one thing I will say is, if I had to wait 2 fucking years for this shit, I don't want to say this shit, but you know what I mean. If I had to wait 2 years to read this, when was this published? 2018? Yeah, because Empire Storms came out 2016. That was 2017. If I had to wait 2 years in between the ending of Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash, I think I would have gone into a spiral. Thank God I read this after it was all published, because wow. But anyways, I'm gonna get to reading, and then I think I'm gonna do a whole talk on the series as a whole and everything like that at the end of this video. But I can't wait to start this and tell you guys all about it. Okay, so I wanted to give an update on Kingdom of Ash, because I have absolutely decimated my way through this book. I'm on chapter 32, which means that I've read about 300 pages today, which is absurd. But I will say that it made it really hard to focus on any of the other plots while Aelin was captured. And while I think that added a lot of depth to the story, it honestly made me so uninvested in everything else that was going on, because I just needed her. I needed them to find her, and I needed them to like make sure she was okay. And because it was like a third of the book that they were looking for her, and it was such a big chunk of it, that I feel like I really couldn't bring myself to care or focus on anything else that was going on. So I read it, but I feel like I was really skimming everything to do with the witches, like the Kraken witches and Dorian. The only chapter I really read was Chaol and Yriene's, but they were pretty short. And then I was also just absolutely just skimming my way through Aedion and Lysandra's chapters, because I barely care for Aedion as it is, and when all of this was just looming in the back of the story, it was so hard to care or focus. But now that they have been rescued, I feel okay. I feel like I can calm down a little bit, which I know is just like in for a world of pain, but I just mean like now that they found her, I feel like my soul can rest easier. And Fenris really broke my heart, especially because he was such a side character before, and he was the reason that she got through what she did in any way that he could, and I thought that was so sweet. Yeah, in terms of the other so I think that's my thought so far is maybe I've read like a third of this book and I binged it, but I only binged it because I felt like I was just trying to rush to get through them finding Aelin. And I think that, God, but the chapter where they found her, that was devastating. That was gut wrenching. Reading that, and because I have TikTok and I have heard the graphic audio before, it's just like you hear it in your head. So good. So good. Really liking it, but in terms of the plot, I really could give less of a fuck because they were looking for her, but now that they found her, now I care. And now I'm invested. So now I can slowly make my way through and be okay, I think, which, like I mentioned at the start of this video, if I had to wait fucking 2 years for this shit, I think I would lose my mind. Like, genuinely. Yeah, there's just no way. Can you tell that I just got back from the gym by the way my hair is sticking straight to my forehead? I hope not, considering it's freshly washed. Wanted to give my update so far on Kingdom of Ash because I think I'm almost halfway through it, which is abysmal but also exhilarating at the same time. So I think I'm liking this. You know what though? I think this book series really peaked for me at Tower of Dawn. So the world building and things like that, it just doesn't compare. But taking the book on its own, I think I mentioned this the last time I gave an update, but because Aelin was not with the group and her torture scenes were brutal. I did not expect them to be that bad, but they were. And because of that, I think I was not as connected to the story because I really wanted to make sure that she was rescued and that they found her and everything like that. So I think that's what I was really waiting for the majority of it. But then once they found her, I'm going to take it from there onwards because I feel like that's when I really connected to the book and really liked it, or I really started liking it. So in terms of the plot, I think it's crazy that there are essentially 3 different forces fighting. Usually it's a good versus evil type of thing, but there's really like the Maeve force, the Aelin force, and then the Erewhon force, which I think is so cool when you read Tower of Dawn and you find out what Maeve did. And I don't think Erewhon really knows what Maeve did, or I don't think Erewhon has put 2 and 2 together, if I'm not mistaken. So I find that to be really, really interesting. And I think it speaks volumes to the writing, I think, of Sarah J. Maas, that you realize that every single interaction that you have seen in this book has value. Like, starting all the way back from Assassin's Blade, it's not just Ansel, it's Ilias, which I never thought that we would talk about again. And it's not just the main characters, it's who she encountered in the market, who she stole the horse from, that ends up being Euron and Borte. And when they come up in Tower of Dawn, I thought, what is the point of these people besides adding some comedic relief or adding depth to this world? But then you find out there's so much. And Yrene and, Rolf and just everyone that you encounter along the way. I think it's so expertly and geniusly done in this, which is extremely commendable. And I think that they add so much heart to the story considering everything that has happened and will happen. The one thing I will say is, I think I said, I can't remember in which reading thing it was, but I think I said that Celaena is not nice and she's kind, and I think I take that back ever so slightly because I think she is nice. I just think that she is nice to the people that she cares about or people that she sees value in, rather than being like intrinsically really sweet. I think the foil of that would be like Elodie, but I think I take it back because and again, this is really commendable because I think I was very held strong on that opinion. And then I'm reading her in this, and I think you just realize how much she has gone through, and she's so young, and it really makes me feel like for her character and like connected to her character, and I think it speaks volumes. In terms of the actual plot, up until this point, I feel like there's a whole lot of nothing happening. I think that there's just so much fighting, and in terms of the Aedion and Lysandra conflict, I cannot believe. I understand, I think, why he is so upset because if you think about his history and the fact that they just like never clued him into anything, I think that that is really terrible to do to him. But I don't really think it's Lysandra's fault, but at the same time I think she should have advocated. I don't think he should be saying the things that he said to her, but I also really empathize with him, and I think she should have known better. And quite frankly, that really is Aylin's fault that she didn't really clue him in. So there's that. And then in terms of Dorian and Manon, I think that's the story that I'm the least connected to at this point. And actually, that's not true. I'm less connected to Adian. But with Dorian and Manon, it just seems like they're doing a whole bunch of nothing. It's just like, oh, they're rescuing the witches. Oh, they're rescuing the witches. Oh, he wants to find the word marks, but she doesn't. So it just seems a little bit redundant there. But like I said, I think that all of it was just really setting up for everyone to reunite. And now that we had like Aylin's group reunite with Chaol's group and they're joining forces, I think that now will really the pace will really pick up and everything like that. So those are my thoughts so far. I'm, like I said, excited to keep going. I don't really know what this will entail, but I'm trying to pace myself because like I said, I think I just breezed through some of the beginning because I just wanted them to find her and I wasn't really locked in, and now I'm trying to like actually lock in and read it. But while I'm doing that, I'm still flying through it, so I think that speaks volumes to her writing. So holy gods, I'm speechless. I just read two of the most insane scenes, not chapters, but scenes. Manon facing the matrons by herself, jaw was on the floor. And the battle at Aniel with the dam and Aelin. I feel as though I witnessed it myself. Like, I can't, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? I don't know what to say. Let me tell you one thing. One thing about Aelin, Ash River, Whitethorn, Galathinius is that you may be playing checkers with her. She is playing mahjong with you, okay? 3 months. 3 months in the iron box. Like I said, she was playing mahjong. Like, I'm out here playing fucking cardboard checkers, and she is out here playing mahjong. Wow, I can actually picture everything that just happened in my head. I don't think I've had this experience before. This was like my mind is blown. It is like my mind is blown. The way that she just wrote that. Oh my god, my heart was literally Elodie's running. Elodie and Lorcan are doing their thing. They're oh my god. That was literally nuts. I know I'm just sitting here in silence, but it's just because I can't fucking get over that shit. And the ingeniousness of this, this author. Have we noticed, have we commented on the fact that Dorian is no longer the same since the Vogue collar? And how, oh my god, like, oh my god, she does such a good job of actually allowing the things that have happened to the characters impact them and leave lasting impressions. Yeah, no. There's no fucking chance that I just read that. There's no fucking chance that someone is that talented that they can write a scene like that. I swear I like heard it. Elodie being like, where is Lorcan? Where is Lorcan? Oh my god. Nuts. Speechless. Absolutely speechless. I think I'm at like a little over halfway at this point. Absolutely. Page chapter 62, absolutely speechless. We have Aelin, the Firebringer, Galathinius, Wildfire, Fireheart, Ash River, Whitethorn, Galathinius doing her fucking badass shit. We have Manon Blackbeak, Queen of the Witches, not the Krakens, not the Blackbeaks, the Queen of the Witches, because she defeated all these. And then we have Lysandra saving everyone's ass all the way up north where no one, like, hello, has anyone remembered her? Has anyone remembered her? Because it's not Adian that's remembering her, and it sure as hell ain't any of these bitches over here. And the one thing, wow. The one thing I will say is these assholes that were like, oh, one life is better than the loss of the billions of others. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Is it though? If it was anybody else, would they have lain over and taken it? No, they wouldn't have. Not if it was, I mean, Aelin is different because she's literally the key. Not if it was Rowan, would they have done that? Not if it was Gabrielle, they would have been like, find it, get there. And Fenris, honestly, I have sympathy. I do, like, for that. And I know that's what he shared with his twin. And yes, that is so sad. And you don't deserve that because you are like a ball of sunshine and energy. But you didn't even try. You don't even try to get him. And I know you're mad at him. And yes, it is all his fault, low-key. It is all Lorcan's fault. But he's here now, and he's trying to do better. And if Aelin can let it go, you can let it go. Holy fuck. That was... to me, that is a book ending thing, and we are in the literal thick of it. But that was a book ending scene. I think that was the most immersive scene I have read in this entire series. Genuinely. And this is an extremely talented author, but that, I need to cut the cameras because I've just been staring into oblivion for 8 minutes. But I can't believe I'm saying this, but I just finished part 1 of Kingdom of Ash, and I wanted to give a page break or like a mindset break and figure out all my thoughts before I keep going with this. So I think now I am so immersed in this world and this scene that it just feels so tangible whenever you're reading it and whenever you are with them on this journey. And the hopelessness almost that Aelin can feel is so tangible. I don't think it was like this in any of her other books where, yes, she always had some sort of struggle in all of the other books, but I never feel like she truly gave up. And in this one, I feel her exhaustion, and I feel her desire for it to all be over. And it's so unsettling as a reader, and like she's done such a phenomenal job. And then I really feel for Rowan too, because he's just trying to be supportive of her, but then I feel like it's so obvious the way that she is just exhausted, like mentally, physically, emotionally, everything. What a phenomenal job in creating this character that you have grown to love for 8 books. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8. That you have grown to love for 8 books that seem so infallible, and then you come into the final book in the series, and not only has she been captured, but whenever she gets uncaptured, her spirit it's not broken, it's fractured, I think. And I think that was the whole point, is they didn't break her, but they really fractured her. And the one thing about fractures is it might seem small, but they take a long time to heal. What a phenomenal job. There are kind of points where I was just getting a little emotional or tearing up just at the idea of how much this world has been built into, and the way that these characters just stick with you, and it's just such a phenomenal thing. And I don't want to get too much on it because I'm not done with the book yet, but what a phenomenal job. In terms of the pacing of this, so this isn't exactly halfway, it's more than halfway, it's just the first part of it. And I think that it concluded on a pretty good conclusion for the part one. Like, it's bookended pretty well. I think my favorite parts of this novel so far have been, although gut-wrenching, it goes without saying that you do not yield. Just thinking about that just makes me emotional. Just when she said it over and over and she was banging on that lockbox, like, I feel like that's just going to be ingrained in my mind. That was definitely one of my favorites. The second being Manon fighting the three matrons by herself. The third being the whole battle of Eniel. And the fourth, I don't know why this made me really emotional, but when Manon rallied the Krakens, and you saw, you know, that chapter you read where they were just like, the messenger was going to the next and the next and the next and like rallying everyone. Something about that just like really touched my soul. It just really, I don't know, something about that was so powerful and strong. And I don't know what's going to happen. I find it really, the one thing though I find a little bizarre is that Dorian is said to be just as powerful as Aelin and that he can make the sacrifice or whatever, but I feel like I don't feel like he's utilized or valued or spoken to or respected in that same manner. And I'm honestly really scared because I think when it comes down to it, he's going to, at least right now, I think that he's going to feel like he has no one there for him. And he's going to like forge the lock, I think, and give up his life. I am like anxious and emotional. I'm just like on the edge of my seat. And I'm loving it. The cast of characters coming together in this feels like the conclusion of all of this going on. And that feels really powerful to me too. This is gruesome though. This is brutal. Some of the scenes in this are so tough, and kudos to her for writing such, you know, impactful scenes. The one thing though is I feel like they all forgot about Aedion and Lysandra up in Terrasen, and I know that that's where they're marching towards, but I feel like it wasn't for them. I think it was like for I feel like everyone else forgot about them. And so I wish like everyone else has been reunited. So I think like I wish they would have been reunited, and maybe the witches haven't been reunited, but they've been reunited with themselves. And I guess Dorian not either. Okay, maybe I take that back actually. I take that back. So I'm so nervous to keep going, but of course I'm going to, and I cannot wait to see what happens. Hi you guys, so I am officially done with Kingdom of Ash, which means that I'm officially done with the Throne of Glass series, and I am honestly in awe. And I finished it last night, but I wanted to think on it a little bit, and honestly I couldn't sleep. I know that sounds so dramatic, but I just couldn't. I was just thinking about the series and just what a beautiful, well-written, fantastic immersive journey the whole thing has been, and I was just really reflecting on it. But before I do that, let me just talk about this book as a whole. So Kingdom of Ash, I think, was a stellar conclusion. It was massive, and I think it was intense. It really took you on a whole journey. I can't even believe when you think about where the beginning of this book started and then where the end of this book ends. It's so crazy to think about the journey and then in just this one book, let alone the whole series. And I think it was an epic conclusion to an epic series overall. I thought so much of the twists in this were so smart, so intelligent, and the writing was phenomenal. There were multiple points where I had literal chills down my arms, down my back. The entire probably last 20 to 30 chapters, everything after the 13, or from the 13 onwards, I was actually sobbing. Like, I was sobbing. There was so many moments even throughout where I was sobbing, and um especially in the beginning. And there wasn't a chunk of this that I thought was stronger than another. There are scenes that I thought, but there was not one point where I thought like this really picked up towards this point of the book. I thought that there was so much going on that it's so hard to even imagine that all of this happens in one conclusion, but it was really, really well done, really fantastic. There were things that I felt like I had left wanting a little bit more of. I think that something that makes me feel very not dissatisfied, but almost just like you almost got there but didn't, was all of the three main villains were to me in the story were actually not vanquished by Aelin. Lysandra killed Arobynn. Yrene defeated Erewhon, and Fenris killed Maeve. And I don't know if that's meant to be poetic, and I think in a way that I think in a way it is, but I just like, I don't know, something about that just feels so at the heart of it, like you've been following Aelin through this entire journey, and for her to not be the one to vanquish them, I think was, especially Maeve, like actually no, especially Arobynn. I know Maeve was a big bad of the whole story, but to me Arobynn is the most vicious villain you can ever see of all time, but he's not relevant to this story. But I think that left me wanting a little bit, and I didn't know how to feel about that. The one thing that is Aelin, one of the like biggest, most amazing twists I think was Aelin is always 10 steps ahead of everyone else, but when they went to forge the lock, Rowan was a step ahead of her, which usually never happens, and that made me so emotional, and it makes me emotional just thinking about it. Like what stellar writing, and that whole scene, I could just picture it, like when they were forging the lock and then she pushed Dorian out and the dad came in. That was all so well done, so fantastic. There were so many parts of this book that really made me so emotional, and it had everything to do with like your connection to the characters and everything like that, which is just so good. So all in all, I think this was a good conclusion. I've seen some discourse on people not happy with Dorian and Manon's ending, but I actually thought it was good, and I actually thought it was very fitting. I feel like it's very obvious, like that they are together and will be together, but I think after Dorian was possessed by the Vogue, like I don't think he will ever go back to having like putting all of his eggs in one basket type of thing with Sorsha, just because I think it like really impacted him, and I think she's a really good foil for that. And I think it's like very clear with like what he said to Maeve and what Yrene says at the end. Like I thought it was so good, so well done. So I think I'm gonna land on a 4.5 for the finale of one of the best book series I have ever read. And now I'm going to rank them and then talk about my series my opinions on the series as a whole. Starting off with my least favorite would actually be Throne of Glass. I think that the reason that I had such a difficult time getting into this series was because, first of all, I'm not someone that really likes a love triangle, and I think that really threw me off because the way that book was written, it felt like that was going to be the whole plot of this entire thing, but it's not. Oh, and another thing is, my favorite thing I think to come out of the series was the bond between Dorian and Chaol. I don't know what about that is so like, I don't know, it makes me think of Munya, I think, because it just like makes me emotional, but just like that bond I feel like is so overlooked because everyone just talks about the romance, but their like brotherhood is just so good, so heartfelt, so strong. The reason that Throne of Glass I think is my least favorite is because I just feel like the setup of that book did not, and I think it was intentional, I just didn't think it felt like this epic fantasy. It felt like something that was a little bit more of a love triangle, which is not really my cup of tea. And it just felt so low stakes in comparison to, like, you know, everything else going on. And I feel like that was when Selena had just gotten out of Endovier, and so I found her to be really unlikable in that book too. So Throne of Glass would be my least favorite. I think then followed by Crown of Midnight. I liked that a little bit more. Obviously, that's why it's the next step higher, but I still think Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight to me are almost like a duo. And I think that the series is just so good. From there, it just gets, the books are so good that it just infinitely gets better. After that, I think would be Queen of Shadows for me. I know that that's probably a hot take because I think that's a lot of people's favorite, but to me, I felt like there were parts of it that were slower, and probably necessarily so, but it just felt I felt a little bit disconnected from that book, I think, so that's why that would come next. And then after that, I think would come Empire of Storms, which is another hot take. I think the way that that book ended was so fantastic, but I think there were parts, especially in the beginning, that I felt were a little bit slower, but the twists in that and the way that you really get into Aylin's mind were so good. So I think after that would be Empire of Storms. And then I think it would be Kingdom of Ash as my number 3 spot. My number 2 spot would be The Assassin's Blade. I thought that was going to be my number 1 until I read Tower of Dawn, which is my favorite book in the entire series. Probably one of the best books I have ever read. I feel like it's just ingrained in my brain, my heart, my soul, and as I've been reading it and since I've been reading it, yes, I went to bed thinking about Kingdom of Ash, but it all loops back to Tower of Dawn and just Chaol and Yrene. And I went from literally being a Chaol hater to him being my favorite. Him and Yrene are actually, like, separately my 2 favorites. So good. So good. And then I just wanted to conclude by talking about my feelings of the series as a whole. I was talking about this with my best friend just the other day, but I feel like I've procrastinated reading the series for such a long time because, as you know, I'm an avid reader. I read so much, and I think I knew that once I really got into this, I would be obsessed. And then once you read something for the first time, you can't ever read it for the first time again. And it's just a little bit daunting. And I think it's because when you think about, I think about so many of the books that are currently published, and there are so many things that are phenomenally written, but this type of writing, this type of story makes me feel so nostalgic for when we were 13, 14, 15, if we were in that era and all of these dystopian books were coming out. And the first series I ever got, the series that got me into reading when I was 8 years old was Harry Potter. And that was so immersive. It made me feel, even when I was so little, it made me feel like so powerful, and that you can make such a difference, and how all the small things that you can do really make a difference. And it taught me so much. Like, I just think that was the first series that really got me into reading. And then I think that when I read this, it would be really similar, just because this is one of those big series, you know? And it definitely did. I think it makes me, like, so emotional, I think, because it just dredges up those feelings of nostalgia of reading a fantasy series and just feeling like you want to be that powerful and you, like, want to make that difference in the world. And this series, at the heart of it, I think shows that there are, like, 2 major themes for me in the series. One of them is family, and then the other one is just the power of kindness, I think. Because if you think about it, oh my god, I don't know why I'm, like, emotional. I think if you think about it, everything that Aelin accomplished, all of her allies that she was able to rally, every decision that she made was a consequence of her being kind to someone and them coming to help her. And
it's just so powerful when you think about how this has been started since the first book, really the prequel, and how all of that loops back together. And especially with Yrene, that was the first scene I think of the prequel, and it goes to show you like how far an act of kindness can really make a difference, I think. And something about that just makes me so emotional, I think. And secondly, it's just Aelin loves everyone in her life. The bond between Dorian and Chaol, Aelin's court, Manon, like, and the 13, all of it together just shows how much gets forged in tough times and I think difficult friendship, and it was just so well written. And I think I'm never gonna forget the series because I'm a romance lover at heart. And I cared about the romance for sure, but that was like the least of my concerns. I feel like as I was reading this, I was just so invested in each of the characters and the story. And it was just beautiful. It was beautiful. It was so well done. I will never forget reading the series. And you can say what you want about the writing, you can say what you want about the plots, all of that, but it was just so good. It was so good. It made me feel so connected, and I haven't had a reading experience like this in so long, and I'm so thankful to have experienced it reading it. And I just know, like, I'm never gonna forget the series. This is ingrained in my mind and will form so much of my opinions and my tastes in the future. And I've actually never really wanted to be an author. I don't really think I'm good at writing. But this series was the first time that I thought about just the idea of, I want to make something this good. I want to make something that impacts people this much. I want to make something this smart. And I don't think I've had that feeling before. I think that speaks volumes to Sarah J. Maas's writing, that she is an inspiration in the way that she writes and the fact that she's such an expert at her craft, and she just inspires so much emotion that she makes me want to leave a lasting impact in some way or figure out a way to do that. And what a conclusion. I'm trying not to be that emotional. I don't know why I am, but that concludes my read of Kingdom of Ash and my reading of Throne of Glass series. Definitely a 5-star series as a whole. Parts of the individual parts make up the sum, but the sum is a 5-star. If you were like me and you were procrastinating this, I really understand why, but whenever you get over that hump and decide to read it, please push through, especially if the first couple of books slump you out. I promise you it is worth it, and it will change your brain chemistry as it did for me. I feel like I can breathe a little bit now that this is done, because I mean, I think I'm going to spiral for sure the next couple of days and think about this all the time. But now that it's done and I've read this, I think I can just enjoy the fact that I've read this and just revel in the mastery that this is. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, thanks y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.